Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping the Mighty Nine Reunited Part 1. I'm so excited for this. This has been something I've been excited for a while. So, let's just hop right into it. We start with Veth and Nicodranus. Veth is receiving the first group of campers for her new camp, the Wildmount Wildlings Wild Out. It's a camp for young kids looking to become adventurers. Kids from all over the world are coming to partake in said camp. The kids are the ages between 13 to 17. The camp is free, as the gentleman is a benefactor to the camp, as Veth is laundering out money through it for him. So, there's that. Not going to come crumbling down at any point, Veth. Veth isn't sure when the kids will arrive. There is no set arrival time for anybody. As Veth and Luke are walking through Nicodranus, Luke asks how many kids are coming. Veth says about 13. Luke is a little too young to truly take part in the camp, but will definitely be there. Veth explains that he can, go to whatever classes he wants, but he needs to sneak around when appropriate. Can't do it at just random times, and he needs to partake in things properly and not just do whatever he wants. They then see Yeza putting up a sign saying "Grand Opening" on his new shop, Bernardo's Better Self. This is the third time he's putting up this sign, as apparently it is not doing too well. And as they get close, Yeza asks Veth if she can test out some of the new stuff he's been making. Veth asks how a business is doing. He kind of gives a "it's doing okay, it could do better" answer. And as they go to step inside, Yeza sees that Luke is trying to sneak up on a cart and begins to call him over. And with two big bags behind Luke, he is attempting to sneak up. He's not being very sneaky. And he decides to call off his little stealth moment and says to his mother, maybe next time I'll do it without bags. And they go inside. After that, we cut to Zadash in the Cobalt Soul in the teleportation room as Bo steps through the teleportation room and gives the person watching the teleporter a stink eye as they try to sort of stand up and greet them. And Bo says, nope, her day's done. She's going to go home. And she does the same thing as she leaves the Cobalt Soul building itself. She sees a bunch of people looking at her and just sort of ignores them all and walks past. And she makes her way to her house, where she sees Yasha outside picking some edible flowers. Bo starts to explain why she was so ready just to leave work and go home, saying that it's boring being in meetings and all day, and is frustrated by Caleb not taking a teaching job at the academy to be her inside man against the Cerberus Assembly. Yasha tells her to relax and begins to explain what she'll be making for dinner, and begins to, explain that Martina Stewart, their neighbor, has been very helpful in teaching her how to, make meals properly. And as almost on cue, Martina Stewart herself joins the conversation, annoying Bo quite heavily. Eventually, they tell her about a new book club that the Cobalt Soul will be starting soon, and it will be a good place for Martina to go and meet somebody. And Martina says they'll talk about it more over dinner sometime. Not tonight. She wouldn't want to intrude on their dinner tonight. Bo, annoyed after a long day, wants to go inside and chill with Yasha. And Yasha says she's going to finish up dinner. We then cut to the Nine Heroes Ford ship that is out to seas off the Menagerie coast. The crew of the Nine Heroes has been establishing a trade route between the coast and Darktow, protecting trade ships from the dangers there, i.e. pirate ships and monsters, whatever. Ford has named this a stone's throw shipping, as it's only a stone's throw away. Kingsley says that the name is kind of shit, as, if they are a stone's throw away, it means they aren't there to help out yet. Orly goes up to Ford and asks what direction they should go in. Ford isn't too sure. He casts Augury, an obscenely obscure friggin' spell, in my opinion. That's strange to me. To get some guidance from the Wild Mother on what direction will be safe, he points it in a western direction. He throws the stones and shells, but isn't too sure how to interpret it the way it was given to him. He asks Jester for some help. Jester runs over and picks up the shells and stones and throws them once more and says, "Let's go north." Ford then tells Orly to go north. Kingsley says Ford lacks confidence and that isn't good for a captain. he needs to be more sure of himself, or the crew will mutiny. At this point, Ford says that's what this is for, and summons the Star Razor and stabs it into the ground. But Jester agrees with the sentiment and says that next time, just pick a direction and go. Ford asks, what if there's a storm? And Jester simply says, then tell them to go around it. The crew's new powder monkey, Nala, a orc woman, comes up to Kingsley and asks if he thinks they'll see any action soon, and Kingsley is hoping for the same thing. We then go to the Soltris Academy. In a class, there is a group of students and their gnome teacher that Matt describes to have a emo haircut, who is looking towards Caleb as he is a guest teacher for the class. Caleb wraps up saying that they need to read up on history or they will be bound to repeat it. The students leave, and one stays behind to tell Caleb that she hopes he comes around more often, as she likes the way he teaches. The gnome teacher thanks Caleb before saying that his style of teaching is very strange, but it seems to be effective for the students as they pay attention to him. Caleb then leaves the room and thinks about if he'll actually take the teaching role that is being offered to him by Astrid and hoping to be given to him for Bo. He then makes his way to his small cabin in which he both lives and teaches those who weren't taken in by the academy because they're still talented after all. He then goes inside his tower and hopes to see Essek. We then go back to the 9 heroes. Off in the distance, a storm is brewing in the direction the ship is going. Orly points this out to Ford and asks what they should do. Ford, trying to be more confident, tells Orly to go west like they should have from the start. Ford tries to see if the storm is natural or not, but he can't tell at this distance. And Ford notices he can't feel the presence of the Wild Mother. The storm is intense and it has massive waves and insanely heavy rain. The crew starts to bunker down in the hopes to come out of this with little to no damage. Ford and Jester see big waves coming in, and together they split it using control water. Ford then casts water breathing on the whole crew, just in case. While this happens, Kingsley sees a massive humanoid shape under the waves. Oh man, his name's gonna mess me up all day. Kingsley informs everyone of this, and Ford uses Divine Sense to see if he can sense anything. He doesn't, so it's not celestial, undead, or evil, I believe. And due to this, they're distracted and are hit by another big wave. The 3 of them slam into the railing. Ford feels a flash of pain and sees only darkness in front of him. He then hears a voice, "I found you." Ford tells everyone this and tells them to get ready because they have company. Kingsley runs to the cannons, Orly grabs the helm, and Ford runs to the side of the deck and casts Fly on himself. As he lifts off from the deck, a massive hand slams onto it, and then it's followed by a second hand. A massive head appears, pulling itself up from the water. It's about 5 to 10 feet long. Ford yells for Kingsley to fire the cannons, and 2 of them are in range, dealing some insane damage. Making it shoot back at Ford and Jester, a spear of lightning, hurting both of them badly. Kingsley then sees more shadows climbing up the ship. Kingsley then lights up his sword, hurting himself quite a bit in the process, and lunges toward a Psychon, one of the black, shadowy figures he saw beforehand, and he hurts it quite badly. A mage Psychon tries to cast a spell on Ford as it is on top of the giant shoulder, but Ford resists it. Then the giant slams his hand down on the deck, causing a massive thunderclap. Once more hurting Kingsley and Jester. Jester is in deep shit, and they are both now deafened. Jester then runs up to the giant and casts Inflict Wounds on it, fucking it up, and then tries to run away from it, but gets hit by its reaction. She is now within, like, a bullet, not like a single bullet, lame-o bullet hitting her and killing her. She then moves away from it after that. 8 is now the regular Psychon's turns, and they attack, or they go for Kingsley, but they don't do too well against him. And then one goes after Jester, putting her down. Ford flies over to her and heals her, and then apologizes to her and pulls out the Cloven Crystal. The Psychons all stop and look at it. Kingsley takes this time to disengage and joins Ford and Jester on the railing. The Mage Psychon moves toward Ford and extends his hand out to take the crystal. Jester says he can't do this, but the mage takes it, then says that they made a wise choice. The Psychon leaves and the giant goes below the water. The ship is badly damaged and begins to be bumped up from below as if something is punching it or hitting it from down below. It is time for them to flee the ship as it is beyond repair, as the mast is now falling. Jester cannot get everyone out safely using her magic, and thus Kingsley pulls out a floating boat and says everyone should get in, it's big enough to fit everybody. Just as he throws it out, the giant's fist pushes through the deck, breaking the ship in two, sending the crew into the water. Due to them being able to breathe underwater, 9 out of 10 of them make it to the floating ship. The only one that dies was Orly's first mate before he joined the 9 Heroes, or the Ball Eater back then. Orly says they're only a day away from the nearest island, the Twin Word Isle, and they make their way towards it. And that was only the end of the friggin' prologue, because Matt is nuts. So yeah, and I just want to put this here right now. They played the Campaign 2 animated cinematic, and first of all, they made a few changes to it, which was rather interesting because Caduceus isn't there. But it reminded me that that is the best animated intro. It's the best intro they have. It is amazing. It is so good. And it saddens me they don't use it anymore. I don't hate It's Thursday Night. I really enjoy It's Thursday Night. I preferred the live action It's Thursday Night as opposed to the rotoscoped animated one they have now. At the beginning of Campaign 3, I really like that one. But this one reminded me how much fun Campaign 2 was, and I'm so excited for more of these episodes. Specifically December 1st, I'm really excited for that. So this animated intro to me was a godsend because mild, how do I put this? That animated intro and the animated D&D Beyond thing they had, the animation, was basically what wrapped me or pulled me in to Critical Role. I was like, damn, that looks sick. And then I realized that it was connected to Critical Role. Then I watched the intro, and then I started watching from that point on. And I caught up because of that. So I started when they did whatever the episode that intro came out. So that intro to me is super nostalgic, which is crazy because it's only been a year and a half, but it's amazing and I missed it. So yeah, there's that. That was pretty cool for me. As the crew are making their way toward the Twin Word Isle, Jester starts sending messages to the Mighty Nine. Caleb is first. She informs him of what happened to the ship and tells him to also gather Bo and Yasha. Jester tells Ford that Caleb, Bo, and Yasha will meet them soon on the island. And then Jester questions if they should message Veth. Ford says they should. Jester then messages her and informs her of the exact same thing, but Veth answers seemingly in the middle of, let's say, fun with Yeza, as she'll be ready for when Caleb comes to get her. Jester then tells Ford that Veth is also coming. Nice. Caleb then uses his sending stone to tell Bo what happened, and it seems that she and Yasha were also having fun. This is a horny episode. Bo and Yasha tell Caleb they'll get ready for his arrival. Caleb then teleports to Veth's and uses his ring of telepathy to telepathy to see if she's able to come along. She's huffing and puffing after having her fun with Yeza, but joins Caleb downstairs, and Yeza asks Yeza to watch the campers and to let Luke teach them the way of stealth. Yeza says he hopes she's not getting into anything too dangerous, and her and Caleb teleport to Bo's place. They then meet up together and talk about if they should go now or not, let Caleb rest up a bit after teleporting twice, whether they should get Caddy involved. They then try to, but they realize quickly that they don't have a way to reach out to him. But Yasha thinks she can and tries to send a message to him, giving him the key words and important details, but receives no answer as she doesn't actually have the spell. But it's nice to think that she does. They choose to go now and rest with the rest of the group as they've all also used up some resources. They teleport, but it seems they land off a bit offshore. Caleb turns into a killer whale and pulls everyone towards the fire that Ford's crew has started. The group are now reunited, they hug, and they start to give the full details of what happened on the ship. First things first, they need to find out where their enemy is heading. Ford casts Major Image to show his dream from long ago, showing 3 lights spread apart from each other, and then it moves past them into a jungle and then into a ruin. They think about what the lights mean and come to the conclusion that it's probably lighthouses as it has a connection to the sea. Bo and Caleb think about which cities could it be referring to, but they can't really put it together as they're not really from here. The Menagerie Coast, that is. Caleb also says that cities themselves could be beacons of light while out on sea. From there, they look at a map, and with Ford leading the investigation on the map, he sees 3 cities close to each other, and north of them is a jungle, the Cryos End Forest. They can go back to Nicodranus from there and rest there, and they can bring the entire crew with them using teleportation circle. Caleb says he can make a circle, and they can go to Yusa's place. Jester messages him for the first time before actually teleporting there, so that's improvement. He says that they can use it. They teleport, and with everyone there, there's just enough space for everyone to fit. Wensworth opens the door and guides everyone out, very briskly as he is tired and wants to go back to bed. Ford gives his crew money and tells them to get some rest. Jester says, go to the Lava Chateau and tell them that Jester sent them. The party goes to Ford and Jester's place, a small house underneath the water tower, which, if you've watched Campaign 2, that is a very important place to their relationship. There's enough room for everyone, so they rest up, and they begin to plan for the next morning. The next day, the party need to get moving. They could teleport there, as they know what jungle specifically they need to go to, but there's a risk that it misses, as Caleb has never been there. Jester takes a seat and sets up a ritual to cast Scry on the mage Psychon. She, with the help of Artagan, are able to see them in an open hillscape, not in a jungle quite yet, but the giant is in fact there, which was a fear of theirs. The party choose to go to the Wayun Gate, as it's close, and they can fly from there, as it won't be as big of a risk. They teleport, and then Caleb, Jester, and Ford transform into giant eagles, a red one, a blue one, and a green one, respectively. Ford grabs Kingsley, Caleb grabs Bo and Veth, and Jester grabs Yasha. As they're flying, Kingsley sees the enemy coming toward the jungle from a different direction than they are. They're heading north. Caleb sees a spot within the jungle to land, but on his way in, he can't maneuver well enough and slams into the canopy. Bo and Veth both jump off in the middle of all this, dodging the crashing eagle. Bo then 3-point lands on the ground. Veth then 3-point lands on top of her. Kingsley wants to try because he feels left out. Jumps off Ford. Natural 20, and he 3-point lands on top of Veth. Poor Veth. Yasha then jumps off and lands beside them, leaving a small crater where she landed, because barbarian gonna barbarian, I guess. Jester and Ford then land on top of the canopy and climb their way down carefully. Caleb, still an eagle, transforms back and is okay for the most part, mainly just his pride is hurt. They all gather up and they move to intercept the enemy. As they start to move, another storm suddenly appears above them, another Ukatoa storm. Jester leads the group safely through the jungle at first, and they find an abandoned camp. It looks to be super old. Inside of it is some bones. Bo, investigating, sees that it was destroyed at least 50 years ago and sees track marks from predators and a bag with a healing potion in it, which is, a superior healing potion. And she finds a journal, but when she touches it, for the most part, it falls apart, with the exception of 2 pages, which details ruins with sun markings, which means venomous serpents, and the sunlight of M, meaning there's even more danger. Caleb then leads them down a rough path, and it leads to a statue with a feminine physique. Very little details, and is wrapped around by tree branches and roots. They can't tell how old it is. Caleb looks for writing, but sees no detail and no writing. Caleb looks at it and sees that it's very similar to the lighthouse in Nicodranus. Ford feels the warmth of the wild mother here. Jester tries to rip away the roots of the surrounding the statue, and rolls a nat 20, pulling them away with a little bit of help from her axe. It is super old, as the roots protected some of the shape and detail from weathering down in this, crappy jungle scape. Kingsley asks if Ford can talk to her, but Ford doesn't really think so. He looks at it and sees a green gem on her chest. He doesn't believe she'll be able to help, as she was blocked earlier during the attack on the ship. Jester touches the stone and it's smooth. Caleb ritual casts Identify on it. It is a magical blessing on it. The name has been lost to time, but it brings a blessing of luck and goodwill to whoever has it. They question if they should take it or not. Caleb says it's a strange place to find her. Here like this, maybe the Wild Mother and Ukatoa have always hated each other. Jester goes off to look for enemies. Kingsley tries to find a connection between this temple and the statue, or the temple and the statue, but doesn't really find a connection. Ford touches the gem, and he feels warm, and it just falls out to his touch. The warmth of the gem is only for him. Jester didn't see any enemies, and the party get back to it as they travel once more. Jester leads again, and it's hard to travel as the jungle is getting denser as they move closer toward the middle. Jester hears a sound and looks up, and about 10 feet above her is a monkey looking down at her. Jester holds up a pastry, and it jumps instantly, trying to avoid whatever she was moving, and she then drops it on the ground, but the monkey still doesn't move for it. Veth steps up to get the monkey to come down, and it works. The monkey comes down and grabs it, and then jumps back up into the vines. Bo thinks this is a waste of time. It'll call its friends, or just be loud in general. They ask the monkey if it knows where a way to the temple, and it starts yelling and howling at them. They flee from it, but it starts to follow them. Jester keeps feeding it as they run, and she turns around and throws some at it. Bo, now leading, she tries to get away from the monkey, and as she's trying to shake it, she steps on a hard patch of mud, and spores begin to spread into the air around them. The party take poison damage, and Jester gets straight up poisoned from it. Jester wants to keep going, everyone's concerned about her, and she gets told that she can climb on Yasha's back. She does it. The monkey is still following them at this point. Jester tries to replicate the monkey's sound and tries to leave it on a tree as they go by, but it doesn't help get rid of the monkey at all. After a bit, they start to find pillars, very old pillars. They're getting close to the center of the jungle at this point. Ford, leading the 9 now, sees these pillars, and as they move, they get bigger and bigger, as if it's to signal which way to go closer inward. Off in the distance, he hears the sound of falling trees and crashing branches, and sees something move off in the distance. It's the silhouette of a giant. They talk about if they should attack now or get ahead of them and try to ambush it. Caleb wants to ambush it. He thinks they should let those who are good at getting a jump on people actually get the jump on people. They quickly run in front of them, no stealth. Jester leads the rush and gets them around all of the crap that's going to try to poison them or trip them or whatever. Getting them to a wall of trees, they climb it and see inside is a clearing, or a clearing of green bush, and within is a temple. For the most part, it's destroyed and crumpled in and damaged. As they're trying to get inside the clearing, and to try to hide and ambush, Bo tries to get in and steps on a dead tree and falls, but with her slow fall, she takes no damage, doing some cool-ass monk shit. They then begin to hide, but Veth decides to move up toward the castle, avoiding the sunlight markings, as that was told to be dangerous, and finds an entrance to the temple, going down. She then messages Ford this, and he tells the rest of the group to go up there as it is a death funnel in his words. And the giant breaks through the wall of trees as they're making their way up, and that is where Matt ends the episode. So with that, the episode ends, and it's clearly a building episode. It's building toward episode 2, which is going to be the dungeon crawl and the conflict portion of it. We obviously had conflict in this episode, but this one was very much setting up a, future episode, which is nice, but we have to wait a week now, which kind of hurts. But I'm sure this will be fine. I highly, highly doubt this will turn into another, one episode was set up and then the other episode was really bad, like EXU and, what is it called? EXU Kaimal. Yeah, I highly doubt that'll happen because it's Matt. The only question that I have, because there's a few things that kind of irked me at the start, but then I kind of realized as time went on, like, they were calling the 9 hero ship the Ball Eater at first, and to me that bothered me a little bit, but then I realized it's been almost 2 years since Matt even wrote anything for them, and he's had a huge amount of stuff to write for, campaign 3, so forgetting a ship name or whatever, the only thing that I'm questioning is where the hell is Vandrin? He wasn't with the crew as far as I was aware during the opening portion of this, so did that happen after, or was that before? Because I don't know when that happened, because I'm curious where Vandrin is at this point in time, because that was kind of like one of the only cliffhangers from the end of that episode was what Ford and Vandrin were going to do now. So, where's Vandrin? That's literally the only thing that I was, I was questioning. Where is he? So, yeah, otherwise, that was fun. I really enjoyed these characters. I love seeing them again. These characters are always a bunch of fun for me, as they're the ones who got me into Critical Role. So, yeah, it's fun to see them again. I really like Ford and Kingsley's dynamic. You can really tell if there's a bit of Lucian still left in Kingsley, as he's kind of like waiting for the proper time to strike out on his own or even mutiny or whatever. And it's kind of funny. And I like his relationship with everyone else when he meets them. Like, you guys are actually this crazy. You guys are actually this nuts. And I really enjoy it. My favorite line from Kingsley is like, he's like, how did you ever beat me? You guys are a bunch of fools. How did you ever beat me? I really loved that. So yeah. I don't know why they were... I do know why. Because they're a bunch of dirty-minded fools. But they were... Sam, Bo, and Laura, for whatever reason in this episode, were really hammering in some sexual jokes at certain points when it was not necessary. Specifically starting with Sam at the beginning. But, it was still funny. It was just something I felt like commenting on. But yeah, this is clearly a setup episode for the next one. So, whatever, it didn't... Obviously, it wasn't going to feel resolved in this episode. So, leading up into the next one, I'm excited. And I can't wait for... 2 weeks. Next Thursday. December 1st and then December 2nd when I get to recap it with you guys. So, see you then. Peace.